For today's story, we are covering the story of Steve Bannon, who has been indicted in a New York state court on financial fraud charges related to the whole build the wall thing. So he was pardoned by the president, of course, federally, but the president only has the power to pardon for offenses against the United States, which is to say, federally. New York has now charged him with crimes relating to the same incident under state law. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Steve Bannon, former strategist to President Trump, surrendered to New York authorities on financial fraud charges. The Manhattan District Attorney and New York Attorney General announced charges against Bannon, claiming the former strategist wrongly collected more than $15 million from U.S. political donors under the We Build the Wall campaign. That has been the allegation, yes. Bannon and the non-for-profit corporation he founded as part of what the New York state authorities are calling a financial fraud scheme, We Built the Wall Incorporated, were indicted in the New York State Supreme Court. Now, just a reminder that the New York State Supreme Court is what they call their trial court. The Supreme Court is the lowest level of court in New York because they want to confuse everybody. It goes Supreme Court, Court of Appeals. No, it goes Supreme Court, Appellate Division, Court of Appeals in New York because they have to be different. So it's just the trial court. Pressing on, prosecutors allege that in 2019, Bannon lied to political donors, promising the money to build We Build the Wall would be directed toward construction of a wall along the southern U.S. border with Mexico. Bannon then allegedly diverted funds from We Build the Wall towards salaries, which the organization specifically told donors would not occur. They said they wouldn't claim a salary, and they did. So that's part of the fraud. During a press conference to announce the indictment, the people said it's a crime to turn a profit by lying to donors, and in New York, you'll be held accountable. There cannot be one set of rules for everyday people and another for wealthy. We all must play by the same rules and must obey the law. According to the prosecutors, Mr. Bannon took advantage of his donors' political views to secure millions of dollars, which were then misappropriated. I mean, they did say they wouldn't take a salary. That's true. Bannon is charged with 2 counts of money laundering in the second degree, 2 counts of conspiracy in the fourth degree, 1 count of scheme to defraud in the first degree, and 1 count of conspiracy in the fifth degree. This is the latest in a series of criminal charges for Bannon. In August 2020, Bannon was indicted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the federal government, but before leaving office, Trump extended a pardon. So, yeah, not so much. But of course, Bannon has since also been convicted by federal courts for contempt of Congress because he refused to comply with the subpoena because he didn't show up. And you can't do that. So there's all that. So he's facing some time in the federal trial. He's facing a couple months, probably 3 or 4 months in federal time, and whatever the state of New York can dish out. Thus, that brings us to the end of the discussion about Steve Bannon being indicted by the New York court. So I can't speak to whether or not he'll be convicted, although given everything that I know about him, it seems like he's in some trouble. I remember reading the U.S. government's indictment against him, and it seemed like there was some pretty decent evidence against him, and that they paid themselves salaries and the promises not to pay salaries and so forth and so on. The misappropriation of money and the conspiracy. So I think the balance probably has him likely to be convicted, but of course he's innocent until proven guilty, and we'll see. But that's what's going on. President Trump might have pardoned him for his federal crimes, but the state of New York wants a piece of him, and they're charging him. And at least for the moment, that brings us to the end of discussion of this case.